Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. An honour to rise today in adjournment proceedings to pursue a question I originally asked the Minister of Environment on September 16th of this year. It relates to a very controversial project in the province of Quebec. So my question, c'est sur la question.
My question has to do with the Northvolt. This is a project which has had no advance assessment, and the mayors of Saint-Basile-le-Grand and another have asked for an environmental assessment.
Environmental review doesn't apply because these are areas of federal jurisdiction. More than 4,000 people at the time of this question had asked through a petition for a federal environmental review. Now, in response to my question about whether there would be an environmental review of Northvolt, the Minister of Environment said that the Impact Assessment Agency was reviewing the request for an assessment of the project, and that the review was ongoing, and the Minister told me the agency will make a recommendation to the Minister in weeks to come. Now, that was September 16th, so quite a few weeks have come and gone since I asked the question. The concern about the environment here, because it's generally seen as an environmental green kind of project, to have Canada have more of the components of a supply chain for renewable energy, for lithium-ion battery storage of renewable energy. The difficulty here particularly is that the Northvolt site is on contaminated land, previously contaminated by the Canadian Industries Limited explosives plant. There's tremendous concern that the proximity of the Northvolt plant would be so close to the Richelieu River that the advanced environmental assessment is needed to ensure that we know that the project has adequate safety measures in place to avoid the contamination of the Richelieu River from the Northvolt plant. Now, since that time, there have been a number of developments surrounding Northvolt. Its financial security is in doubt. The company has had a downturn in its economic fortunes. In fact, the company might welcome an environmental review to keep its Canadian prospects alive while it tries to revive its financial prospects. The most recent note on the Impact Assessment Agency website is from 9 days after I asked the question, so September 25th. They reported that parts of the project, particularly the battery cell components of the project, could not be evaluated because construction had substantially begun, and therefore they couldn't do a review. But it's still, as far as I can see from tracking this issue closely, it's still the case that we don't know if the project as a whole will have a full environmental review under the federal environmental assessment law. It's really critical for protection of key habitat, for protection of species in that area, that the environmental review take place soon, and that the proponent is informed early of what precautionary steps they will have to take to ensure that the environment surrounding the Northvolt plant in Saint-Basile-le-Grand and McMasterville and that the Richelieu River is protected. In the remaining 10 seconds I have, Madam Speaker, it's a great opportunity to actually be able to pursue this matter tonight when the question is an open question. Will the government have an impact review of Northvolt?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's a great pleasure at the adjournment debate. I know that the factory is in Quebec, but I will continue in English.
We're from Saanich Gulf Islands, my friend and colleague from Saanich Gulf Islands, for her intervention tonight and for her ongoing advocacy for all environmental causes in Canada. She really is a legend, Madam Speaker. This past June, the Government of Canada delivered on its promise to quickly and meaningfully amend the Impact Assessment Act to respond to the Supreme Court of Canada and provide regulatory certainty for major project proponents, Indigenous partners, and Canada's investment climate. The Impact Assessment Act is designed to protect the environment, ensure sustainable projects can move forward safely, and instill public confidence in how the Government of Canada makes decisions concerning major resource projects. And I would just add, Madam Speaker, that the improvements that we've made to this are real. The old impact assessment regime under Stephen Harper really didn't do anything to protect the environment, but ours does. The amended Impact Assessment Act ensures that federal decision-making, namely the designation decision, the screening decision, and the final decision at the end of the assessment are focused on areas of clear federal jurisdiction. In any exceptional circumstance, the Impact Assessment Act provides the Minister of Environment and Climate Change under Section 9 the power to designate a physical activity that is not prescribed in the regulations if they are of the opinion that the carrying out of that physical activity may cause adverse effects within federal jurisdiction or direct incident adverse effects. He, in this case, may decide, in deciding whether to make it an order, consider public concerns and adverse impacts that the physical activity may have on the rights of Indigenous peoples of Canada, among other things. However, there are limitations on the Minister's power to designate. They may not designate a project if the project has been substantially started or under a federal authority has made it a decision under whether or not an act of Parliament that permits the project to be carried out in whole or in part. And the Minister can confirm that he has received a designation request for the Northvolt 6 project. The request, co-signed by some 50 citizens and a few organizations, highlighted adverse effects on fish and fish habitat in the Richelieu River, as well as certain species at risk. So on September 25th, 2024, the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada responded to the request in relation to the battery cell component production and assembly plant and the crushing and sorting facility. The response noted that the Minister's power to designate was limited as these two components of the project have already substantially begun. However, the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada's analysis process continues for the battery recycling plant, which will inform a decision as to whether or not the project warrants a designation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.